Hello, and welcome everybody to part 3 of our video series on bash scripting. In this video, we will be discussing how to write loops in bash. First, we're going to go over the general structure of a bash loop, and then we're going to provide a couple of examples of how different syntax can be used to accomplish the same fundamental loop behavior. And then finally, we're going to do what we do in all the videos in this series. Is we're going to ask a question, and we're going to write a bash script that answers that question. And it's going to touch on the concepts we've learned today, as well as some of the concepts we learned in the variables and arguments video. So fundamentally, a bash loop has 3 parts. Okay, there's the for statement, and this declares first what the variable will be called that will be used to refer to each element in the list of things that you're iterating over. Okay, so a very common thing is to use like for I in some list of elements. The second is the do statement. And after the do statement comes the list of actions, functions, commands that you want to be run each iteration through the loop. Finally, the done statement. So the done statement is just how you end a loop in bash. So some languages like Python, a line indent indicates the end of a for loop, but in bash you write the statement done. Okay, so here we provide 2 examples on how to write a bash loop where you iterate the variable I is the numbers between 0 and 5. So one is going to look familiar to those who are familiar with writing C code. It's kind of a C style for loop. And the other is more of your fundamental sort of bash syntax with the for my variable name in some array, some list of elements. Okay, and all this, this loop does is print that hello, I am loop number, 0, loop number 1, loop number 2. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is fundamentally to writing a loop in bash. So we're going to go ahead and just get straight into our example that we're going to do for today's video. So our example today is we are going to write a bash script which does a nested loop where the outer loop loops over the numbers between 0 and n, where n is a value that we input into our script. Think back to video 2. And where the inner loop is between the numbers 0 and m, where m is the second input argument into our script. And then in the inside of this nested loop, we're going to perform an arithmetic function like I plus j. And if you see the hint here, arithmetic in bash is done inside of this $ double parentheses notation. Okay, so like with all of our examples, I'm going to be running on Quest, and I'm going to create a program called nested loop.sh. Okay, and I'm going to use the C style notation for my loop. Okay, so I'm going to define the variable I, which is going to go between 0 and n, where n is the first thing we feed into our script. And if you remember from video 2, the way that the syntax you use is the $1 notation for the first argument that you pass to your script. Okay, and then I'm going to do the second loop, which is I'm going to say is the variable j, which is going to go between 0 and the second thing that I feed into my script, which again, you use $2 for referring to the second input argument into a script. Okay, and then I'm going to do one final action, which again, in this case, is I'm going to add the variable I to the variable j. Okay, and then of course, I cannot forget to end my for loops with the done statement. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this. Let's run the program, the script nested loop.sh, and let's have the numbers I go between 0 and 3, and then J go between 0 and 2. Okay, you can see that the arithmetic was done and the results were printed to screen. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slides and I'm going to leave us with this possible answer slide, but I encourage you to try different ways to write a nested loop in Bash. There are many types of syntax you could use, and try out different types of arithmetic that you can do with the variables I and J. Okay, next time in video 4, we're going to be talking about arrays in Bash. So please join me for that video, and thank you for your time, and see you then.